Hi everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, I got so excited after assembling up the StuG III in 16 scale from Das Werk and receiving in all of the value gear add-on kits, I decided I was going to make up a stowage rack for the back of it, and I thought I would share with you guys that today, how we built it and painted up all of the stowage. So, let's get started. So I've got so excited about getting all of this cool stowage for the rear engine deck. I opened up one of the packs. This happens to be pack number 3 that'll be coming out very soon. And I started painting it up. We've got the first one painted here. We've got our MP40, a stick grenade, the pouches, a helmet, and I think that's going to go nicely just right up on top here. And I started stacking up all this other stuff. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and create the metal rack that fits on the back of the StuG. And that way, we don't have to use all the tie downs and stuff on this stuff. A lot of times I've seen on the tie downs when people rope it all over the place, the rope looks a little funny and a little out of scale or something. Something looks weird about it. Whereas we won't have to if we create the metal frame. Now, what I've done here is I've taken some styrene, and in this case, I'm using some evergreen number 146, and I created just a real simple side. I looked at probably about 100 pictures in the last couple hours of different types of racks, and it is all over the place in the different types of setups that the Germans would put on here. It was just usually some steel that they had welded onto the back. It wasn't like factory or anything, or at least this type wasn't. And put on there and just to keep everything from falling off, basically. So I created this one right here. As you can see, it'll fit just in this area. And I'm using the styrene just like this. I'm going to create exact mirror copy of this for the other side. And then we can go ahead and glue some back supports on, just like this. I probably will put 2 on the very back. And that way we can throw all of this equipment right up to the very edge and not have to worry about it falling out of or putting on the rope that, like I said, I'm not a big giant fan of all the time. Sometimes the rope just doesn't look right. It looks great on like pouches and tarps and stuff like this, but when you rope it all down, especially because what happens is this resin stuff cannot move at all. So if you tied it down tight with a rope, it's going to put a big dent across the bag here. So let me go ahead and make a mirror copy of this, and I'll show you that right now. I've gone ahead and just temporarily just put a little piece of masking tape just to hold it in place there. And I actually went and flip-flopped the 2 sides and put the beam on the outside of it. It gives a little bit more room inside, especially for the road wheel here. So now we can go ahead, and I cut this a little bit longer than it needed to be. And we will go ahead and just glue it right into place, and then we can just trim off any excess. Now, I've also created 2 of these bars here just by bending the end of the plastic, and we want to get it to fit just around the edge here, and then it'll look like it's been welded to the back angle here. So we'll first attach this piece as well as the secondary one that we will put on the bottom, and then we will put the up and down, the vertical ones. Here is our built-up cage. And I actually had to take it apart after the last little scene, and that was because the camera was in the way and I didn't realize I had it just slightly a little bit crooked, a little bit off. Not terribly, but enough that it was irritating me. So I went and took it apart and fixed it back up again, and now I'm able to glue it into place just like this. Now, I did put a coat of dark yellow on it. To me, is dark yellow, the same one we painted the vehicle with. And I just put a light coat on it now. We're going to do some weathering on it. We want it to blend in. But also, once we get it glued into place, we're going to go back over it with our dark green that we use for the camouflage and put a little bit of that on it. So anywhere like one of the bars touches and there's some of the camouflage already there, we'll put a little bit on as if the camouflage was put on after the actual cage was installed. So it's kind of all blended together. So let me get that glued into place and then we can do a little camouflaging on it. And of course now we need to chip up that paint job. So once again, chipping from Ammo by MIG, dipped onto the tip of a sponge and then blotted mostly off on paper towel. And if anything is going to be greatly chipped up on this vehicle, I would imagine this bar system would be, because the guys are going to be dragging stuff over the top, constantly taking stuff in and out. So this is going to get beat up, especially this top rail all the way around. And anything they would hang off the back here. Here's a close-up of the chipping, and I really like that sponge with that chipping color. And you can see like right in this area and here. How many times have you seen, at least I watched, old work trucks on the road, and you watch the way things chip and rust, and it looks just like that. Just incredible. Now I've got this brush here with just a little bit of enamel thinner on it. We're just going to brush a little bit into these areas. And then we're going to take our streaking grime. We want to dirty these up a little bit. Don't want it so clean. Kind of blot it on in some areas. And we can even, if we want, put a little bit of rust on certain areas. And blend it in. Okay, I've decided to create a little bit more detail on the back of or actually on all the connection points. And as you can see here, I put a few little bolts. And to put these on, I'll show you what the process we went through. I luckily did not glue any of this stuff down on the back here. So we're just going to take a little spacer of styrene and shove it up under behind the block. And what this basically represents was that they would weld a plate on with two bolts coming out of it, and then bolt that all onto it there. So that is going to represent the little bit of a plate. I've taken some stretched sprue, which is just a matter of taking a flame to an old piece of the sprue, stretching it out. Then we are going to cut it along the edges here, all the way around, and hopefully you can see it on here now, and keep soaking it in liquid cement. And after it soaks in liquid cement for a few minutes, you can take your X-Acto knife and just go along the edge here and kind of push the little bit of a weld bead into it. So hopefully you can see the weld all the way around there. We haven't weathered this yet or anything, but there's a weld bead going all the way around it, just like the real one would be. So when it comes to the bolt heads, now Ming makes a set of bolt heads as well as a few other companies, but so I have a bunch of extra parts left over from the test shots, and in this case we're using these bolt heads right here, right off here. It's just a matter of taking our really fine Tamiya cutters, holding them tight, the flat part up against it, and then just slowly pinching them off, putting a touch of glue on there, just like, actually I'll show you in this one. Just a matter of putting a little bit of cement. And getting it to line up in the right spot. And obviously we still have to glue the back of this down to make it nice and flat, and then we can run all of the stretch sprue around and make our little weld contacts there. So you can see I've bolted, well maybe you can't see actually, let's move it to the side here. You can see I've started to put bolt detail all the way around the piece. I've seen quite a few pictures of different ways that they would bolt these on. The back usually always had a tendency to look like this, but some of the sides are kind of haphazard and just random. So it would have been impossible to get the little spacer behind here and over here because we've already cut it to length and already attached it. So I've just decided just to go ahead with the spacer back here and just do regular bolt detail on that. Now we're going to paint up some wooden crates. This is what the crate looks like right when it comes out in the gray resin. And what I've done on this particular one is we have sprayed it with XF88 dark yellow right out of the bottle. Do not seal it once you are done painting with it. And then now we're going to use two different colors, the Tamiya dark brown as well as the regular brown, to create our old worn box. We're going to start off with the dark brown by brushing it into the little edge of where the boards are. You just imagine more dirt and debris collecting in there. And because you do not seal the Tamiya paint, it kind of almost stains it. You can see it starts to run out. And then we can take just the regular brown. Put a little extra on there. And then taking a clean brush with some thinner on it, start to blend it together. And depending on how dirty you want your boxes to be, how worn, the more coat you put on it. And then once you are done, you will get a box that looks like this. And all I've done in here is for the hinges is put a little light gray on it, dirtied them up a little bit, and then took a little bit of a metal color to kind of make the bolt heads kind of stick out. And you get a nice, I think, worn looking wooden case that you can drop in the back of your vehicle. Now obviously I put a little bit more dirt on this one, and I probably will on this one too. I like the way this really looks. Makes everything really pop out very nicely. And of course that will work on all of your boxes that you'll be using, whether they're open or closed. You can make them all dirty just like this one. Okay, as I'm painting up some of the parts that are going to go in the new stowage rack that we just created. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about painting these up. It's pretty easy and straightforward. It's just a matter of doing all the detail work. So for example, on this we painted with an airbrush the wood base color, and then I painted these tarps kind of like a German green color, and now I'm using a khaki to create the straps. And your greatest ally when you're doing all this stuff is going to be panel liner. And I kind of painted this a little bit while ago, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So we painted the straps, and they're okay. You know, you don't have to get every little bit, but as soon as you add the panel liner to it, and it kind of highlights and, you know, divides everything up and kind of puts like a little dirt on it, and then you wipe off any of the excess, and it kind of just blends everything together. And it does a really good job of, we'll call it hiding your sins there when you're doing this kind of stuff. And put it on kind of heavy to start with, and then using our enamel thinner with a dry brush, you start taking off any of the excess, and it just really blends everything together really well. And in the next reveal, I'll show you after we've loaded up everything in the rear of the stowage bin, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And here is the completed stowage rack for the back of the Sturmgeschütz, as you see right here. I've also loaded it up. Didn't use the entire bag of the value gear for this, but most of it on here. And I think it's just enough that it fills it up and adds some eye appeal as you look at all the little different things that are inside and out. Now we'll kind of put the 360 on. Probably only do 180 since we're just mainly showing off the back of the vehicle. So you can see on there we've got our bolt detail, which I'm very happy I went ahead and did. I think that really makes it stick out quite a bit. And then as it comes around the side here, you see the bolt detail on all of the edges, just like that. So I wanted to show you guys just with a little evergreen plastic strip that you can go ahead, and some bolt detail, you can go ahead and make a really nice looking stowage rack for the back. Simple, takes maybe an hour total of painting and weathering, doing everything to build it up. So you can go ahead and add that onto the back. And then of course the value gear stowage, it will be coming soon. We're hoping to have, hopefully by the end of next week. So, and then they'll go up for sale then. So keep an eye out on our website at andyshhq.com. So I want to thank you as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.